We have been covering this completely outrageous revelation about Mark Milley, the general, having to take preventive measures after Trump lost to Joe Biden in November of 2020 and after the Trump riots, because Milley was worried that Donald Trump might consider launching nukes, including possibly against China. Trump wants Milley charged with treason, as Bess Levin writes in Vanity Fair, for making him look stupid, a reaction keeping in line with Trump's famously thick skin. This is a very much worth reading article. Bess writing, something you may have gleaned is Trump doesn't take criticism, constructive, real, or imagined, very well. One major example of his paper-thin skin is his reaction to the American people denying him a second term in office, which resulted in him inciting a violent mob to attack the U.S. Capitol. Naturally, it is in no way surprising his reaction to the news that Mark Milley took steps to stop him from starting a war with China and a nuclear war with any number of countries was characteristic of Trump, i.e. bat-ass crazy with a string of terrifying run-on sentences to boot. Donald Trump put out a statement in response to this, saying, if the story of dumbass General Mark Milley, the same failed leader who engineered the worst withdrawal from a country, Afghanistan, in U.S. history, remember, that was Trump's withdrawal, leaving behind many dead and wounded soldiers, many American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the newest and most sophisticated military equipment in the world, and our country's reputation is true, then I assume he would be tried for treason, in that he would have been dealing with his Chinese counterpart behind the president's back and telling China he would be giving them notification of an attack. Can't do that. Trump going on to say, the good news is the story is fake news, concocted by a weak and ineffective general, together with two authors who I refuse to give an interview to because they write fiction. This is a run-on sentence string of insanity. And here was Trump as a reminder on Newsmax making similar claims. This is a former president, folks.
So first of all, if it is actually true, which is hard to believe, that he would have called China and done these things and was willing to advise them of an attack or in advance of an attack, that's treason. And I would think I've had so many calls today saying that's treason. Number one. Number two, it's totally ridiculous. I never thought of it. You were there. You knew what was happening in the White House. You have plenty of friends. You never heard the word China mentioned in a thing like this. You heard a lot of anger.
So remember, he's referring, of course, to Sean Spicer, saying you were at the White House. Actually, Spicer was long gone by the time all of this stuff was going on. That's of no meaning. But multiple times now, Trump says treason. He wants the general charged with treason. The correct assessment of this is, even if ultimately, if Milley, let's imagine Trump tried to launch nukes. If initially Milley tried to prevent that in some way, Trump could fire Milley and eventually replace him with someone who would allow the nukes to be fired. That's the reality. Ultimately, Milley could not have actually prevented this. But Milley, out of a responsibility to the United States and the world, identified such an unusual danger to the United States and the world in Trump in these deranged final 13 days, right? We're talking about the period between January 8th, when Milley had this meeting with other military officials, and Trump leaving office. That's the period we're talking about. That Milley had to do something completely different than what former chairmen of the Joint Chiefs have had to do. That's the real story. And of course, there is no treason here. Trump is completely unhinged. It shouldn't surprise us. And it's another reminder of we should be glad, as disastrous as the presidency was, we should be glad that it wasn't even worse, given what Trump's tendencies were as further revealed. That's the takeaway, not that Mark Milley is a traitor. Quite the opposite, in fact. One of our sponsors is Aura. Think about all of your online accounts, finances, your devices. How are you protecting them? Hacking, data breaches, identity theft. These are bigger issues now than they've ever been before. Aura is a new type of security service. It protects your online data, your internet connection, your devices with one subscription. You'll be alerted to fraud and threats quickly, like if your online accounts or passwords were leaked, or if someone tried to open a bank account in your name. With an easy online dashboard and alert sent straight to your phone, Aura keeps you in control and guides you through solving any issues. All plans come with a $1 million identity theft insurance to help recover stolen funds. So if you want to secure your online presence from hackers and scammers, check out Aura. You'll get 40% off all plans when you go to aura.com/Pacman. The link is right underneath this video.